me, Simon Wellmans, I'm leader of the council. John Richardson, Chief Executive. Thank you very much, everybody. Unfortunately, we are having some technical issues with the sound this evening, so apologies for anyone listening on the line. We're working to hear some background noise, but we will try and tidy up the audio for the usual upload, which I think tomorrow. So hopefully it'll be a better sound quality on the recording. Apologies to anyone listening tonight. So first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Everyone's here, which is great. Declarations of members' interests and things to declare. David?
Yes, I do. There's an item on the agenda about software company, part of my contract employment, Oracle. I'm not allowed to give party to any conversation around IT.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
Yeah, I'm just declare the interest in that I'm county councillor for Gartree Division, which I think is, although it's not specifically mentioned, it is the site and South of Gartree Road is mentioned in a couple of the reports.
Thank you, Phil.
Which is my division.
Thank you, Leader. So my understanding is Councillor David Page won't be taking part in voting on the netcall contract item 9, but you are still okay to take part, Councillor King, in relation to item 11.
As I understood.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Okay, information exchange from portfolio holders. As we've had to make this a really quick meeting, I'm not proposing you go through your written reports that you have, which we will add to the minutes, but if anyone's got anything very, very quickly to say now, please do raise your hands and we'll come to you, Michael.
Just to say that we have our first CSP meeting on Wednesday and I'll be sharing some information afterwards.
Thank you. Anyone else? Paul?
Yeah, I'm not going to read them all out because I know we've pushed it. I just wanted to update people on the new payroll system. The project is progressing and a further update will be shared after the summer. The timelines of activities. Members are reminded that they can now join the LGPS and to contact Democratic Services for any information regarding.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else? Phil?
Yeah, just to say, it is on the report, but just to highlight the fact that the team, the staff team, has managed to, ahead of schedule, publish the draft statement of accounts and the government statement, and also the bank reconciliation work that got to the end of
has been completed and in agreed deadlines with the external auditor, as was reported to the April audit standards. So I just want to put on public record that is a tremendous, a fantastic volume of work that's been done, but B, to get it to those standards in the timeline that's available is some achievement. So congratulations and our thanks to those who've done that.
Completely agree. Thank you for that, Phil. David, did you have a hand up?
I did, thank you. Just a very, very quick one. I just wanted to say thank you to Kat and the team for the excellent work they've done around the acquisition of new vehicles and obviously the branding of them. We had the Harbour Youth Council name them after animals, and we had the launch last week, which was brilliant. We also opened at the same time, was quite busy that day, the extension to the Wellham Park play area. That was for SEND kids I'm pleased to say that we've also got another 250,000 we need to spend on that area, and that's coming soon. Just one more thing, car parking revenue is up around 45,000 thanks to the equipment we installed last year. So thank you.
Very good news. Anybody else? No, thank you very much. Next items, questions from members of public or members. We don't have any. Then we're going to draft public minutes of Cabinet meeting on 15th of June. I've obviously seen those. Is everybody happy? I'm happy to propose. Everybody happy? Do you have a seconder? David, second. Any comments? Can you take a vote? Yeah? All in favour? Perfect. Unanimous. Thank you. Draft minutes of the Cabinet Subcommittee Grants meeting on 24th of March 2026. Now, I wasn't at that meeting. Was anybody here for that meeting? We're just going to have to take it on trust, I think, because it's all fine. I'm sure it will be fine, so I'm happy to propose that if I have a second. Phil, thank you. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, so next item is local government reorganisation report. And this is obviously, we've all seen the announcement a couple of weeks ago from government about the future of local government in Leicestershire. Obviously, incredibly disappointing result, and we are very disappointed and angry, I think it would be fair to say, that chunks of Harborough have been taken into, or are being proposed to be taken into, the City of Leicester, which is something we've always said that we do not want, and we've consistently said that. So this report is essentially to endorse the approach of the Council as set out in section 2 of this report, agree the terms for the LGR advisory panel, and that panel will be a subcommittee of Cabinet, and that will consist of 3 Conservatives, 1 Coalition member, 1 Reform member and 1 Independent member, to reflect all of the political groupings and the independents. And thirdly, to note that Leader will use executive authority to agree to the establishment, terms and membership of a voluntary joint committee between local authorities in accordance with section 1015 of the Local Government Act 1972 and S9EB of the Local Government Act 2000. Any questions? I'm happy to propose those recommendations. Phil?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. So I'm happy to second those recommendations and endorse completely the Council's position that we've taken. Clearly, what the government announced the other week was not within the scope, I think, of what anyone was really expecting. As I hear from feedback from colleagues who are on the City Council, not even they were expecting the government to agree to that. So I think it's concerning for all of us in the local government biosphere, Leicestershire and Rutland. So on the one hand, I agree, but on the other hand, at some point, we're probably going to have to make this work. And so it is, we need to perhaps have this twin track approach, because what we can't be is not safe and legal on the 1st of April 2028. So I completely endorse it. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Anyone else? Any comments? No? John, do you want to say anything?
No, I think you've covered it all, and lots of details in the report, and then in the expediency of time. Nothing further.
Thank you very much, Amanda.
Yes, I just want to thank, just wanted to say hi from the briefing was last night, and thank you very much everybody who took part.
Yeah. Give that. Paul?
Yeah, pass on my comments. I thought it was an excellent meeting, and it was well attended, and people did speak, which was really good. All is assurance that the advisory panel has clear terms of reference, transparent reporting back to members, and a practical route for escalating risks around workforce, ICT, information governance, democratic services, customer access, and corporate performance as LGR escalates. Really important.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Rosie?
Yes, I wasn't going to say anything, but I just thought of something. Will we be looking at a viability assessment? Because I think it might be very well to have, because at the end of the day, if all of the resources and the business roads are going to go within the city boundary, how is it going to affect our service delivery? For instance, if you're looking where I live, only if you're going down the road, it will be the city boundary, so there'll be different kind of bin collections. There will be different kind of service provisions, and in the rural areas, as we all very well know, social care or any service delivery is not only very, very hard to deliver, but to sustain in the long term. So maybe hopefully yes, thank you.
John will respond.
Thank you.
Yes, I can confirm we will be looking at that. We do have a finance work stream which our section 1515 Mason sits on, and they'll be looking at that based on the proposals that the listers now have decided on.
That will be great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? No, it's been proposed and seconded. So we go to a vote. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item is Cabinet request of Council to agree an increase in the resourcing to meet the new administration's priorities. Page 35 this is. Phil, this is your report, so if you want to introduce it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thanks, Sam. I'm not going to go through all of the report because we have looked at this before, but the recommendations are on page 35, and they are listed little I to B-I. There was a very lengthy scrutiny meeting last Thursday, nearly 3 hours, thanks to all the members who took part in that. I was there for the duration, as was Clive Mason, 151. There are some proposed recommendations, additional recommendations from scrutiny, which are in separate documents that are now highlighted in yellow. So these are additional points that scrutiny made, which are just going to draw colleagues' attention to. So under the ward member community grants, the members of scrutiny recommended that 1.12, in addition to work within existing staff capacity, we suggest a recommendation. I think the wording at the moment is recommend. I think we recommend, but the committee felt that should be slightly weaker. The concern is obviously that if because the range is 5 to 35,000, 500 to 35,000 the grants. So obviously, if members decided to put a lot of £500 grants in, then that would overwhelm the grant officer's capacity to deal with that. So the recommendation was that councillors would be advised to only think about 5 awards, and that's been changed to would suggest. I mean, it's semantics, but I don't personally have a problem with that. Under the point 6, which was the local economic development regeneration initiative, this was looking at the conditions here as well. So what they wanted to do after it says the proposed criteria be recommended approval by Cabinet, they wanted to add little 2 to say if any of the projects in 4 previously identified localities doesn't provide required evidence and in a timely manner, the panel recommends to Cabinet that projects in other localities be considered. Now, what the definition of timely is, that wasn't specified, but I think that depends on how long the application process. So essentially, how it will work is the locations that have already been identified, subject to council later tonight agreeing to adding a 5th one, they'll be invited to make a submission via an online process, and they'll have to submit loads of information, a business case and project timeline, etc. But what they'll be asked to do is submit it all together rather than groups and drafts, and then that will be assessed and then determined But the point was, how long is that time should it be, and exactly when would those things go out? Well, it all depends on the meeting later tonight. If that agrees to everything, then my understanding, and I'm looking at the officers now to see if I can get someone to give me the steer, 3 months was suggested, was a reasonable time period. I can argue about it being longer, but the problem is we are going to come up against the statutory change order for LGR, and if we don't get these projects to put the bids in time, and we carry on, then the problem is that we're going to hit the Section 24 situation potentially, and that could then snooker some of these projects out because they're not advanced. So we want delivery, so the projects, whichever ones are invited in, have got to demonstrate that from the beginning. And I think the final bit was it's kind of almost like a repeat really, but it was under if the council agrees to the additional 250k, then again it's the same point about if any of the projects in the previously identified localities doesn't provide the evidence. So they were the only amendments that the Screening Resources, Corporate Resources panel had. And over to colleagues as to what you want to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Phil. Rose, did you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Leader. In regards of the Ward Member Community Grant, I think 7,000 is an awful lot of money. On 5,000, I can just about, get my head around it. That is 7 grand, but some people like myself couldn't even use £5,000 because I've got probably a very big scheme going, so that is one out already. So £7,000 is rather a lot of money for villages to, spend. I'd be a lot happier with 5,000. My big concern is the point Councillor King just talked at length about under item 6. If any of the project and the 4 previously identified locality doesn't provide the required evidence. Yes, I agree with that. They should be providing the required evidence. But as he mentioned, and I said it earlier, the timely manner, it is 3 months is too short. If they're having to get 3 quotes, that takes some time. It might take more than a month on its own to put it all together. I don't think 3 months is the time. And once the money is allocated, I don't think, and probably Clive can answer that better, even if the government issues us a Section 24, once we have the schemes, we can still spend the money because there is no spending limit. I don't know. But I just think that 3 months is too short. It wants to be a minimum of 6 months for them to make sure that they can get all the quotes in. We can't just say, because I've seen it before, oh yes, we give it to contractor A, and contractor A might be charging double the amount than contractor B. So I do think the proper process has to be followed, and I rest my case.
Okay, thank you, Rosie. Anyone else got any comments about scrutiny recommendations?
Yeah, I've just got a comment about the ward member grants, really, and the limited to maximum of 5 awards. I mean, I'm sort of thinking like some of the wards, like Michael's ward. I mean, how many parishes or parish meetings do you have? If yes. Michael wants to split that out, then that makes it near on impossible.
Yeah, Michael.
If I can come back on that, yeah, I've got 16 villages in my ward. Certainly last year, I managed to award one £5,000 grant for Red Easton. That was for safety curtains for a stage. They're very expensive. Certainly 7,000 is limiting as to how many villages I can help. And I think that would have a detrimental effect to the ward itself. I think it needs to be spread a little bit more. Perhaps there should be a minimum of, I don't know, 2,500 up to, because it could be that one project is 10,000.
Yeah.
So there has to be some sort of leeway, some sort of laxity in how much you actually award.
Okay, thank you. I mean, when we discussed this, Phil, we suggested that it was recommended that there be a certain amount rather than a hard and fast rule, but yeah.
So, okay, so let's just be very clear. So first of all, there is no limit to the number of awards that can be made. The parameters are minimum £500, maximum 35,000. Okay, so the issue is that in the criteria, it was a recommendation. It's now a suggestion that each councillor thinks about 5 awards. Now, you can have more, you can have less. It's not a requirement, it's just a suggestion, and that works out in an average, if it was 5, of 7,000. But if you want to make it less, you want to just, you've got a project that you can just do one, fine, and there's all sorts of other criteria. That is just basically to do with, if everyone said, we're just going to give everyone 500, well, potentially that means each council will be giving 17 awards, which would be quite a lot, but everywhere is different. So that's the only thing I wanted to say. So I don't think we're really, it isn't compulsory, so I just want to say that. The second thing I wanted to say, so first of all, the Local Economic Development and Regeneration Fund, to give it its nappy title, is something that we inherited, and unfortunately, to be frank, it wasn't really ready to go. It wasn't. Now, the projects that have been identified already, or places where conversations already took place, at least 3 of those have got worked up, as we understand, have got worked up schemes with very detailed plans ready to go. The others, well, that's we're not so clear about. And the one that's additional, again, that's got very worked up plans and very detailed project plan, etc., etc. So this is the point. I do understand what you've said, Rosie, but I think the problem is if we make it too long, then these things will never happen, and that's the problem. Okay, but I don't think we need to get stuck on the timeline. That is really an operational thing. There's a degree of latitude. It's not going to be cast in stone. There's a degree of latitude. So if someone says, look, we need a bit longer because we're struggling with this, I think that's in scope of the variability. The point is, if you know, we're here in this time next year and these projects haven't still happened, then that would not be timely. So it's about, so if we are going, so we're not going on and on and on. And the point is that the money can then be released for other projects or brought back in and used for other purposes. That's the point, which is what I wanted to say. You know, that's what the screening recommendation was. We don't have to accept the recommendation, but personally I can't see the harm in doing that. But there, thank you.
Thank you, Phil. David?
Look, just very quickly, again, it's semantics, but I mean, we use the word recommend, scrub out the average of 7,000, because it looked like a maximum is 7, that's it. If you read it quickly. So get rid of that, just simplify the language, and I'm sure we'll all agree that the recommendation is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, I can agree with that, Rosie.
Well, David just said that. I'm very happy with that because I'm really concerned if we agree the recommendation as set before us, officers who are not here and have to do their job will take this as gospel and will enforce it. So we've got to be quite clear what we're doing. So yes, take the 7,000 out and make sure, as Phil said previously, that the grants are between 500 and upwards, but we take that out. But I still like to go back to item 6, where it says timely. Again, we're going to ask third-party officers to work with these recommendations. So I like to be quite clear that we do put a time limit on there, and I don't think that 3 months is good enough. and 6 months is not going to kill us, and that will give everybody, and it will also benefit the officers who are going to have to work with it. How are they going to work it through within 2 months as well? So if we're going to do that, let's put a time limit on, but give it a time limit. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Clive just wants to come in.
Through the chair, if you go to 6 months, the recommendation here was timely and give an opportunity for another organisation. They can't, the original 4 or potential 5 can't reach the deadline. Okay, open it up for others. So if you go from 6 months from September, October, November, December, that's March, you're never going to get a bid from another organisation in time. So you're just, so effectively, through the back door, you're cutting somebody out. So in my head, I think 3 months is reasonable if they've got that information to hand. I mean, they are meant to be other ready schemes. They are meant to be ready to go. So that will, it gives the opportunity then for another to step in if the original 4, potentially 5, can't meet it. Thank you.
Anyone else? We have some suggested wording here.
Let's hear the suggested words.
Which Leah will read out.
So where it says in a timely manner, I've then put brackets, which is usually 3 months, except where agreed by the leaders that an extension is required.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Leah.
I'll accept that.
And I'm happy with that.
Okay, that's very good. And then we just want to tidy up the wording and remove the bit about the 7K. I think Cabinet's in agreement with that. Yeah? And then the other one is effectively the same, isn't it? Yeah, it should have a similar wording. Okay, all right. Is Cabinet happy with all of that? Get those small changes. Okay. Has it been proposed? Have I proposed it? I'll propose. Or has you proposed, Phil?
I did propose. The recommendations are one, that we consider the comments received from corporate performance over green scrutiny in respect to the 7 initiatives from Little 1 to Little 7, and to make final recommendations to Council scheduled for later today. So what's our final recommendation to Council then?
Yeah,
so it's also worth bearing in mind that the detail of the schemes you've just been discussing, that's actually your decision. So Council only get to determine whether or not they support the budget amendments. So in that regard, scrutiny was supportive of them. You've proposed them. Therefore, the recommendation to Council is that the budget amendments stand unamended.
Fine.
Fine, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you propose, Phil?
Happy to propose for the
I will second. Can we have a show of hands? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Just
Yes.
make a little awkward point. We usually put it in the Council agenda, but we don't mention it at the Cabinet. If you leave the room during the debates, just be careful, because you shouldn't ever really take part in the final decision. But I appreciate that was unanimous, and most decisions are. So just be careful of doing that. Maybe pop your hand up on each item, and then we can take a quick pause.
You walk down.
Oh, sorry, I lost my handbag with my money and my phone then.
Okay.
Just enough to buy myself a...
Thank you. Right, okay. Next item is contract with Council's Netcall live hosting environment. Yes, I don't claim to be an IT expert at all, so can anyone talk to this one? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is under the Cabinet rules, anything over 50,000 we have to come to you to ask for permission to schedule the procurement. We normally remove this on an annual basis and it wouldn't have hit that threshold, so this is why you've not seen it before. But what we are trying to do is to create some stability for post-2028, and in conversation with the IT officer group that is now in existence looking at the future post-2028, they have requested that all IT contracts be extended past vesting day where possible. So that's what we've done next. We've gone for a 3-year contract which takes it over 50,000. It is our current provider. It is in line with contract procedure rules that we're calling off the network framework. So it's all in line with procurement. We've looked at alignment to LGR and the future after 2028, but because of the value we need your agreement before we can award the contract. It is a continuity issue. It's the best system that we've got. It will mean that we don't have to spend months looking to procure new contracts, retrain staff, to look at integration with other systems and that. So for that reason, we've put forward an exemption and we would like to just award it directly over the framework. And it's just for your approval to go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Liz. It's something we've got to do. Any questions, comments from Cabinet? No? Paul?
Yeah, I think this is a sensible decision. We're going to have to leave LGR in a sensible place as well. So I think this is the right time to do it.
Yeah.
And let's get on with it.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I'm happy to propose the recommendations. Anyone second?
Happy to second.
Paul, yeah. I know you want to take part in this, David, so can we have a show of hands? Thank you very much. Okay, next item is the item 10, Council Annual Delivery Plan and associated key activities for 26-27. It's just something we've got to do. This basically outlines our key activities for delivery in 26-27, and it basically is how we're going to deliver what's in the corporate plan, which has just been refreshed. So I think it's fairly clear, and I'm happy to propose the recommendations. Is anyone want to come in? No, Paul?
Yeah, thank you. I welcome the annual delivery plan as the key mechanism for translating the corporate plan into a deliverable. Given LGR and resource pressures, I would like the quarterly reports to be very clear about what is on track, what is being repaired, and where capacity constraints require cabinet decisions.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry, was it you seconding it?
I will second.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? No? Show of hands? Unanimous, thank you very much. Next item is statement of common ground relating to housing distribution following NPPF annual standard method published in December 24. Rosie, I think this is your report. You've got anything to say?
It is my report, and I'm happy to hand it over to Tess Nelson to give you a little bit more detail.
Thank you. Tess, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is an updated statement of common ground. It follows publication of the NPPF in December 24. That included the government's new method for calculating local housing need, the effect of which is to change the distribution across Leicester and Leicestershire. Leicester has now a slightly lower local housing need, most districts are slightly higher. As a result of that, some further work was needed to look at the distribution of Leicester's unmet need. The unmet need has obviously reduced quite significantly, so a further piece of work has been done, and the statement of common ground results from that. It sets out the proposed distribution of Leicester's unmet need within the district and boroughs, just to draw the Cabinet's attention to the fact that it doesn't impact on the emerging Harbour local plan. So the local plan that was submitted in April of this year is not impacted by this statement because it's going through one of the transitional arrangements in the previous standard method, which means the previous method of calculating local housing need. The statement of common ground is nonetheless recommended to Cabinet in order to support local plans of 4 partner authorities, Davy, Hinkley, Bosworth, Oadby and North West Leicestershire, who are requesting local plans under this NPPF, so this doesn't impact on them. Thank you.
Thanks, Tess.
Thank you, Tess, and I move the recommendation as set out on page 68.
Yes. Yes. Anyone else? No? Should we go to the votes? So you're proposing, Rosie, our seconds. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Oh, it's not there's a mile going here. Right. Next item, statement of common ground relating to strategic warehousing needs. Rosie.
And that is me again. Report on page 99. I hand over to Tess and for explanation, but the recommendation I put forward as set out on page 100 and I propose.
Thank you very much. Tess, did you want to come in again?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Page. So this is another statement of common ground across Leicester and Leicestershire, this time strategic warehousing need. So this follows the updating of evidence across Leicester and Leicestershire, which calculates future need for strategic warehousing. And we know that that need is increasing. That's been increasing due to changes in our shopping habits, increasing online shopping, and changes in the distribution industry post-Brexit. The need has increased as a result. There needed to be implicit work to look at how that need is distributed across Leicester and Leicestershire, and the statement of common ground arises from that. The report sets out the need that's been identified for Harborough, which is just over 823,000 square metres, and the report explains how that is supposed to be met. It's mainly through commitments and completions already in the pipeline or already completed. Also, that is met through our local plan proposed allocations at Magna Park for strategic distribution. That leaves a small proportion, 179,000 square metres, proposed to be met in the period between 41 and 46. That obviously goes beyond the emerging local plan period, so will have to be picked up through a later iteration of the plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Tess. Any comments, questions from colleagues? No, you've proposed, haven't you, Rosie? I'm happy to second, so I think we'll move straight to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item is Community Infrastructure Levy SIL progress update. Rosie, we'll come back to you.
Again. On page 115, the summary is there, and the appendix 1 is the draft SIL charging zones. Over to Tess again, and I will also read the recommendation as set out on page 115 on the report. Over to Tess, and thank you, Tess.
Tess.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Page. So as Councillor Page said, this is an update report. It explains where we are in terms of work to introduce the community infrastructure levy. It explains the proposal to move towards a system where we're running both Section 106, the community infrastructure levy, and it explains how those work in tandem. The community infrastructure levy, as we know, is a non-negotiated levy on new development, and it's had to provide developer contributions, developer funding to meet the infrastructure that's necessary to support that growth. And that's the reason that we are looking to bring this forward in parallel with local plan preparation. The two obviously complement each other. The report outlines the results of the viability assessment. This indicates that there is viability in our residential and in our commercial proposed development. The report shows the charging map. Essentially, this sets out 3 different charging zones for residential development. This shows high, medium and low charging zones. And essentially, this is the outcome of the viability work. It indicates where there is the potential to charge higher amounts and stillage for that development is viable. In other areas, the medium areas, there is a more medium level of sill that's going to be viable, and obviously in the lower areas that's lower still. The report also sets out the next steps in introducing the community infrastructure levy, and principally that next step is the preparation of the infrastructure funding gap analysis. This looks at all of the infrastructure required to bring forward the growth set out in the local plan. It provides an estimate of the cost of that and then compares that with likely funding sources. The outcome is likely to be a funding gap, i.e. there will be most slightly more infrastructure costs than we currently have funding for, and that explains why the SIL is necessary to seek to some extent, fill that gap through funding from the community infrastructure levy.
Thank you, Tess. Phil?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. So look, I'm very concerned about this. I think we probably all are. So first of all, the time this has taken for this report to come forward. Previously, a meeting earlier in the year, we were told that this consultation was going to start in spring. Then it was May, and now we're at the end of July, and we're not even going to get to consultation until maybe the autumn at some point. It's deeply concerning, and what's also concerning is, as it's just outlined, there's going to be an infrastructure charging gap, i.e. basically we're going to need infrastructure to support our local plan, but we're not going to be able to provide sufficient money. We need the developers, all from SIL or Section 106, to deliver much of this much needed infrastructure. Exactly what infrastructure we don't know, but unfortunately the previous administrations went ahead and submitted the draft local plan to inspection. So we are where we are, but this is not exactly reassuring me. And the second thing is I'm very, very concerned about this is paragraph 3.9. Is the fact that the assessment recommends that the major strategic allocation, which is land south of Gartree Road, which is basically the Great Glen New Town of 4,000 houses, or the north of Market Harbour, should be considered separately from any standard civil charging regime. Well, that concerns me a great deal, because how are the new schools that are required, secondary school, primary schools, how are the roads, the infrastructure, how's the improvements to the A6, or any other road infrastructure going to be delivered when probably half of our local plan location is going to be outside of SIL? And I don't understand that, and this report doesn't explain it. I would say I'm going to support the recommendations, but I'm just asking the question of how can we have half of our allocation, broad brush, I mean I haven't got the exact figures, but it is a substantial amount of the future housing development and delivery that's going to be outside of this, apparently going to be outside the SIL charging regime, and there's no clear understanding of how that's going to be delivered. So I'm really concerned. We've got to press on with this, but this should have been completed a long time ago in my view. But that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Agree that this is obviously to move to the next stage of the SIL preparation work. So, Rosie?
Chair, Tess can answer that because there is another report coming, and she can also answer the reason why.
Okay, Tess.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Page. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kate. I wonder if we can help on this one. So the reason the report recommends that strategic sites, including on South of Gartree Road, is zero rated, which essentially takes it out of the SIL charging regime, is because on the strategic sites, infrastructure is provided on site. So SIL as the mechanism is absolutely ideal as a way of pooling resources. So you see little pockets of funding from a range of developments, pull those all together and provide infrastructure, and it may be in a place that's not directly related to that development. So SIL is absolutely ideal for that, and Section 106 is less so. However, on a strategic site, the reverse is the case. On a strategic site, what we would be asking the strategic site promoters to do is to provide that infrastructure on site itself. So rather than provide the money for it to be pooled and that infrastructure to be built elsewhere, what we're actually going to be doing is asking them to build that infrastructure. So things like the primary schools and the secondary school and the transport infrastructure that's required to bring forward on South of Gartree Road, that will be directly provided and funded through either the Section 106 or Section 278 in relation to transport. So it's not that they won't be delivering that infrastructure or that funding, it's just that it's a different funding mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess. Phil?
Well, Well, thanks for that explanation, Tess, that they're going to be zero rated. That makes it even worse as far as I'm concerned. So, as you all know, most of the applications in that locality at the moment, because they've all got outline applications in, stated that they are refusing to make any contributions for off-site improvements, particularly for road and education provision currently. And what that means is, in particular, the A6 corridor, which runs from Oadby to Market Harbour, which requires significant improvements, there is no money going to be provided by the biggest driver of growth along the A6 for the next 20 years, which is the land south of Gartree Road and the land north of Market Harbour. So essentially what we're saying is they're not going to provide anything to fix the road problems that they're going to create on the A6 corridor. They're just going to do the stuff internals where they are, but not fix anything outside or make any contribution. Now, I think that's really, really concerning, because then how are those issues going to be fixed? Because other stakeholders presumably would then be asked to fill the gap, and they haven't got the money. So I think this is a bit of a mess, really. But anyway, that no doubt the planning inspector will have to look at it in the examination. But this is why I never supported the submission of the local plan back in March, and I haven't changed my mind. Thank you.
Bill, Rosie.
There are negotiations with Homes England. Maybe Tess wants to kind of just elaborate on that as well. It might help.
Tess.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Page. Thank you, Councillor King. Absolutely. So this report is just about the introduction of SIL. It doesn't make any comment on the way in which transport infrastructure in that vital A6 corridor is going to be provided from the land south of Gartree Road. So at the moment, the recommendation is that strategic sites will be zero rated. What that doesn't do is negate any responsibility to fund and mitigate the impacts of their development. So it's not to say that they won't be paying for it, it's that the recommendation is that they won't be paying for it through SIL. So instead they will be paying for it through a Section 106 or Section 278. It's literally just the funding mechanism that the proposal relates to, not the details of mitigation for this particular scheme at present.
Thank you, Tess. Thank you. Right, any other comments on this, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just not terribly sure how SIL 106 work together properly, and I think the consultation should show and demonstrate the differences of how they do actually work together.
Okay.
Very misleading.
Thank you.
Again, Chair, we can answer that if Tess may, please, because I think that is also important.
Tess, sorry to keep
It's important.
Thank you. No, of course. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. We've set out a little bit of detail in this report, and I absolutely take your point. As part of the consultation, we'll set that out in much more detail to make sure it's absolutely crystal clear. So the broad distinction is strategic sites where infrastructure is provided on site will be through Section 106, and SIL will be for everything else. There are mechanisms to ensure that we don't charge twice for the same infrastructure, so we'll be really clear about that. So developers will obviously be absolutely scrutinising our proposals to make sure that that's the case. The reverse is also the case. What we absolutely don't want to do is inadvertently create a gap between those where infrastructure isn't funded through either mechanism. So when we come to the consultation, what we'll do is set that out in much more detail, exactly where SIL starts and finishes and Section 106 starts and finishes.
Thank you, Tess. Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Tess. Double charging was my next question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tess.
Thank you. Okay, right. I think we should move on. So, Rosie, you propose, haven't you? I will second. May I have a show of hands? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next item is strategic land holding project scope. This is for the lands north of Great Bowden, previously known as the Rewilding Scheme, and it is to agree the revised project scope for the council's strategic land holding north of Great Bowden. So the proposals are basically summarised in point 3.5, the 3 lots that intend to go into them now, so you're very aware and familiar with them. So if anyone's got any questions or comments, I'm happy to propose. Any, Bill?
No, Simon, I'm happy to second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other comments? No? Okay. Show of hands? Unanimous? Thank you very much. Next is the food waste service update on the rollout, 135. David, this is yours. You got anything to say?
I just want to say that there is one line in that report that says, thank you, I wanted to say with the microphone on, that we are still committed to this, and that the reason for the delay is obviously laid out, and it will be in the week of April the 1st that we commence, as opposed to April the 1st. So just to make that clear, thank you. And I think Kat now will probably give the update.
Thanks, David. Kat, anything to add?
No, nothing to add from. I think the report covers it, Chair.
Are you proposing, David?
Yes, I'd like to propose the motion.
Seconds. Any comments? No? Show of hands. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. And one is the section 106 grants application. We have one which is in relation to the Runner Park Pavilion. I think from our previous discussions we're pretty happy with this. Any questions or comments? No, I'm happy to propose it. Go ahead. David?
Sorry, Chair, just one thing. I think the team are going to come back with some more workings on the business plan itself. And so there was some detail that I thought was missing, which will need to come back. I'm not sure what the process for that is. Just looking at Kat there for an answer.
Yes, of course. So we've had a decision to progress the project under a previous administration. So continuing going back through details as is with governance. And there are, as you say, Councillor Page, yes, there are some details around the project plan to be finalised. And it is at the wishes of Cabinet really as to whether you want that to come back to a meeting or if we wanted to progress that for the portfolio holder. It's your choice really.
We're happy just to progress it. Yeah, excellent. Okay, all right. I propose, David, are you seconding?
Second.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions, comments? No? Show of hands? Unanimous, thank you very much. Any urgent business? There isn't any. Only to say that David, happy birthday, and thanks for coming in on your birthday. Thank you very much, everyone.
Forget where you.
How many times? Please don't go there.